Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 vs 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves what should be a good one here today, as it's going to be the random bot rolling Terran Changeling. I guess I can't say the random bot, but probably the best random bot. And taking on that bot is Anniebot, a very scrappy and excitable to watch Terran, as Anniebot is a bot that has a lot of cool styles. And we'll just see how well it's going to do in the TVT matchup today. So ladies and gentlemen, before we get too far into this one, make sure to go ahead, click that like button if you haven't already, leave a comment down below saying more bots if you want to see more of these bot matches, and then subscribe if you haven't already, as I put out daily videos just about on the channel. And yeah, if you guys want to see more Starcraft bot content, you can check out the live stream VODs. I just did a fairly long live stream on Saturday, and it was a lot of fun. Definitely makes me want to try and make it a sort of Saturday live stream thing where we cast some bot games. And yeah, so keep an eye out for those. But enough of that, as we've got a proxy build starting off from Changeling. The Rax is just a little bit closer than if it was built inside the main base of Changeling. However, this is one that's very hard to scout, as the Reaper will just be able to head right towards the main base of Anniebot. We're here on Ultra Love today. Anniebot's going for an expo. It's got 2-3 racks out already, and so it's got production, but that doesn't mean that a Reaper rush is still not a threat, as the first Reaper of Changeling is going to jump up this cliff, runs past the Marine of Anniebot. So that's quite interesting that the Reaper seems to be prioritizing SCVs, not trying to go for the snowball kill, which is how Reaper rushes tend to work in the TVT matchup. But that's one of the decisions you have to make as a bot author, programming your Reapers, I imagine, to just avoid danger, but then try and get worker kills is probably easier than trying to do the math of, say, when to actually commit against your opponent's units. Now, the Reaper of Changeling is doing some fancy pathing. Seems like it's going into every crack here on Ultra Love, which is definitely a little bit funny. The Marines of Anniebot are chasing the Reapers. 2 more Reapers come on in. They may actually be able to get a couple of SCVs here. We'll see if some grenades get thrown down or not, but for now, the Reapers are being chased away. One of them getting dangerously low on HP. It does scoot on by. A grenade gets thrown on down, but there's 1 Marine lying in wait. 2 more Reapers, though, for Changeling do jump into the main base of Anniebot. SCVs pulled off the line to repair a depot. That was not worth it for the SCV. Anniebot has been able to secure up its natural during all this chaos, though, and it's having a hard time pinning down the Reapers of Changeling. However, if it can get them, it won't have to worry about any more, as behind this Changeling is transitioning. It's producing just Marines. It's got 3 of its own racks out, so lots of Marine production in this game. The Reapers just got their 8th SCV kill, which is no small amount of damage, as Anniebot is down on workers compared to its opponent, but it does have that extra command center, which honestly more than makes up for a 2-worker deficit. We'll just see if there's going to be any more damage done or not. The Reaper of Changeling still scooting around. It gets intercepted. Will it go down, or can it escape? The answer is it does go down. Only 1 Reaper remains now, giving grief to Anniebot. A human would be more than frustrated at this point, but Anniebot is happy to go through the motions and just keep running these Marines in a line after the Reaper. Now, these Marines are trying to surround the Reaper, and they do get it thanks to a depot raise and another Marine popping out. Anniebot's got 17 Marines. Behind this, though, Changeling has produced 15 of its own. It's also got tanks, a Viking on the way. So Changeling's army is much more formidable than that of Anniebot's presently. Anniebot does have a nice worker lead, though, as Changeling has actually ceased to produce workers. It is just happily going one base, basically. And that could lead for Changeling to go for a powerful attack, as Changeling is, of course, built off Phobos, which was a bit notorious for its sort of tank Viking pushes. Random scan for Anniebot goes down. I don't know what that's about, as it did seem very, very random. I think there was literally nothing around there, but maybe I'm wrong. Anniebot is actually going for a Ghost Academy in this game, which is very cool. I think it's one of the few bots out there. Maybe Anniebot and Ketrock come to my mind as bots that will potentially utilize a nuke, which would be incredibly exciting. For now, though, the Blue Terran bot is sending some Marines out to secure up this expansion, make sure it doesn't get blocked by a pesky Overlord or a burrowed Zergling. For now, though, Changeling is just chilling, building its natural base very, very late. So not the most optimized build. Changeling's got a formidable army, but Anniebot will be able to surpass that if given enough time off what will be a superior 3-base economy with this third going up. The Ghosts are going to be very interesting. They're not particularly good against Marines, and that is a large part of Changeling's army. So that's going to be interesting, unless they can say Cloak. That's about it as far as I can think. There's no lockdown ability in StarCraft 2, anything like that. And let's see, Anniebot already sending some Marines out, looking to secure a 4th base potentially in the future, getting up more production. Meanwhile, Changeling has got a 3rd command center on the way, so that's something I really like, building 2 at a time to try and catch its economy back up. Meanwhile, Anniebot's still just building its 3rd, so a very cheesy start that has now calmed down. Medivac on the way for Changeling. I believe Changeling is known to go for the odd drop as well. We are getting Marauders produced by Changeling to round out its composition. Funnily enough, they could actually be vulnerable to Snipes, as I believe Snipes still one-shots Marauders. It's not an interaction you ever really see, but yeah, Snipes steal 130, Marauders have 125 HP? Yes. And so we could see Marauders getting sniped by Anniebot in this game, which would be cool. Personally, I'd prefer to see the nuke, but for now, we've got 2 bots that are just macroing on up. Changeling is definitely behind. It's not doing anything that's going to make it catch up in a clear way. Anniebot is notably also getting upgrades going, whereas Changeling is not getting any of them. We've got Stim on the way for the Blue Terran. We're getting Cloak as well for the Ghosts, which could be very nice. But then an eBay just finishes up, so we get +1 armor coming out. And that will really, really help Anniebot if it comes to a head-on fight. For now, Anniebot's already got a very clear advantage in the fact that it's got combat shield. There's no combat shield for Changeling. At the same time, though, it's 4 tanks to 1, and tanks can absolutely make TVTs. One of the skills you have to learn as a Terran when you're working your way up the ladder is when it's okay to stim a bunch of Marines into a bunch of tanks and say, yeah, that's worth it. Bots tend to struggle with that. Now, a 4th base is on the way for Changeling. Anniebot already securing up its own 4th, though, so keeping pace on the bases. Changeling is down on workers compared to its opponent, though, by a huge margin. 22 SCVs is no small difference. And oh, we finally do get a nuke here on the way for Anniebot, so this could very well get utilized. I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen this attempted, but there definitely is room for bots to potentially get nukes off because it's something that requires very specific counter programming. And of course, Cloak is something that's very difficult for bot authors to deal with as well, so you can really potentially just sneak a ghost up to a base, that kind of thing. And then, of course, they're just cool. Nukes in StarCraft 2, for the most part, have always just been cool, not necessarily effective. And I'll happily debate anyone on that, because I know some of you will probably... It's been a long time since we've really seen, like, the Mass Terran, Nuke, Raven, that kind of style. But Like, I'll happily debate anyone on that, because I think in Pro Starcraft, the games that a Terran has won with nukes is a game the Terran could have won without nukes, and potentially even better. As, yeah, like, they're expensive as heck, and they tend not to work. They take a long time, which is why my idea for nukes in StarCraft was to make it so the launch time was relative to how close the Ghost Academy was to the enemy base, so proxy nukes could be a thing. And yeah, let's see here, as we've got an armory going on up for Changeling. There is upgrades rolling for the Red Terran bot. We're currently at 190 supply to 170, so not much between the two bots presently. Changeling does have an upgrade lead and will continue to do so as this game progresses, but as this game has just been a passive, I mean, passive what, 5 minutes since that rush finished off? Maybe even more than that? These two bots have just built up huge armies. We've got 63 Marines, 42 Marines. Changeling's composition much more rounded out with Marauders, and WickedBot's author was actually the one to kind of bring I believe it was WickedBot's author that was the one to bring this to my attention, that Marauders, while they suck in human TVTs because they're impossible to micro, in bot matches, units with high HP are very valuable because they can easily be pulled back and potentially get value. Range is everything as well. Marauders do outrange Marines, so we'll see how well Changeling is going to utilize those. For now, Anniebot is going for a big attack, as it's just got a huge ball of Marines. Looks like a Liberator gets gunned down, and Anniebot's moving forward. It's only got 2 tanks in its army. Its army's actually horribly split right now. It's got more tanks coming behind, but the buffer for them is gone as Changeling pounces on them and picks them off. But the third base of Changeling is in a lot of trouble. It's being repaired, though, and Anniebot's not quite picking this off. We do see the Marauders utilizing their range against the Marines of the Blue Terran's army, and all of a sudden, this game has become chaos. I think the Ghosts might have killed off a good chunk of those units. Pardon me, I'm going to do an unconventional rewind, but what happened to these units? Yeah, the Ghosts actually do go for a ridiculous amount of snipes. I can't believe it. I mean, snipes and TVT are not really a thing, but apparently with Anniebot, they are. Changeling is trying to shut down this Blue Terran army, but now Ghosts are joining. This will get complicated. There's the Marauders getting deleted by the snipes. We've got a nuke getting called down. It's a little bit late. The base is already dead. Stop. He's already dead, Anniebot. And the SCVs of Changeling do avoid the nuke. However, the Raven doesn't, so that gets killed off. That's painful. Meanwhile, we do have the Vikings and Medivacs of Changeling flying around. The Medivacs really haven't been supporting the Bio Army, which is very unfortunate. It seems that their control is being lumped in with the air units, the Vikings, which is definitely not ideal. Changeling has got a decent economy still. It's 70 SCVs to 61. Neither bot is in danger of running out of money, but Changeling is down on supply by a significant margin. Its tanks are going to have to do some heavy lifting, and holy cow, these bot games are just so darn chaotic these days. Now, Anniebot is lurking on the front. Any unit that gets too far forward may be sniped, but here we have a beautiful concave on the tanks from Changeling. Anything that pokes up that narrow choke point will just be melted. And so Changeling is holding Anniebot at a stalemate. There is one random Cyclone harassing. Meanwhile, there's Medivacs flying all over the place. I really have no idea what these Medivacs are doing, but it's a little bit goofy. Vikings are picking off the Liberator of Anniebot. Controlling the skies and using tanks to inch forward is something Changeling does very well. Meanwhile, Anniebot is producing Thors, which is one of its sort of key features, as this Thor is looking to kill a barracks. SCVs come to repair it, but they will not out-repair a Thor on that short notice. Marauder runs forward, gets deleted. We do have a stalemate here. Meanwhile, one Cyclone doing what it can. Vikings and Ravens failing to help. We do see Changeling's Medivacs bugging out hard right now. Yeah, the Medivacs need to group up with the bio, if there is much bio. There really isn't. And Anniebot, it's got a very high ghost count, 16 ghosts in all. Not really building more Marines, but ghosts get destroyed by tanks. They're actually kind of locked on the other side of the tanks, which is not good. And Changeling is kind of leapfrogging these around. And if it can get on top of the army of Anniebot, that would be huge. We do have the one Thor hit squad rolling up to Changeling's third base. This base is not mining. I'm guessing the SCVs are being pulled off the line to repair or something. Anniebot does get a tank a little bit further forward, some Marines stim forward to help it out, and that actually does allow it to be a tank for a tank trade, as Anniebot is EMPing the poor Raven, but it's not having any luck breaking through this location. So if Anniebot's going to find success, it's going to be with other things, like this Thor attack on the side. Looks like that Cyclone and a couple tanks did kill off this base. So can Changeling defend while holding this choke point? I'm not sure. Changeling has really fallen down in the economy. I guess it's just been losing so many SCVs to the repair as it keeps feeding them to this Thor, which has 30 kills. This Thor is a commander with its 2/2 upgrades, or pardon me, just +2 attack, but that Thor is no joke. Changeling needs to get a good engagement with its tanks, with its Vikings. There's definitely the possibility of that, but Anniebot's multi-prong is working here, and now we've got a line of blue Terran units heading over towards this third base, which isn't really mining at all. Changeling is down to 100 supply, and I think Anniebot may be able to take this. Like, the red Terran's still got this formidable 7 tank, 8 Viking army, which can potentially kill a lot of bio, but it's just too slow. It's not in the right position, and this Thor is now supported by a ton of ghosts, some tanks. Yeah, Anniebot is able to run away with this game, it seems, as it has just hit Changeling everywhere. And Changeling's plan wasn't quite perfect. I think it really fell apart with the Medivacs not supporting the bio as well as it should have. We might rewind to take a look at that at the end of the video. And I think we are just about at the end of the video. A bit unfortunate that Changeling wasn't able to come back. I think it could have been a nice long macro game, but Anniebot just is a killer apparently. Changeling also still notably mining gas despite having 4,600 in the bank and no minerals. It does actually pull out. Look at that. It heard me. So that's cool to see. But anyway, well done by Anniebot. I think we will just rewind now to go back to that first fight, and then we can kind of call it a video. But thanks so much to everyone for tuning in to this one. If you enjoyed it, click that like button. If you want to see more Anniebot, subscribe to the channel. And yeah, we'll just see how this big fight goes on. So how many Medivacs are there here? There's only, well, there's actually 5 out, but we see the Medivacs, they fly forward to try and get on top of this. The bio's fighting for Changeling, and the Medivacs are nowhere to be seen to support this. I mean, I don't know if it would have changed the course of history or not, but having Medivacs group up with your air units is a sign of how you have to think of more than just air and ground units when it comes to programming your compositions. I'm not sure why these Medivacs got separated off from the bio, but they definitely didn't help out. They were total dead weight in this game. And so that would be something that could maybe be improved. Very cool to see the nuke by Anniebot. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for tuning on in.